What's up? Let's talk more about the mental illness aspect of the vegan starvation. We understand that a lot of humans are obsessed with food nowadays because of the unnatural carbohydrates, the cultivated hybrid plants, which actually make you lose more nutrients than you get from them. The bacteria in our gut is messed up, and so on. There's a lot of problems. And vegans, 99%, base their religion on this. So of course they will be obsessed with food. All they can think about every day is food, food, food. Every hour. It's permanent hunger. That's a torturous life. If you check out any YouTube channels of any vegans, you will see that it's all about making recipes and trying to make these anti-fake foods into real food, which is never gonna work. Here comes the interesting part. In the famine times, these fake foods were actually made to replicate meat. Pizza with ketchup is supposed to do that. Bread with any spread, of course the body doesn't understand what it is, so it actually causes more chaos than anything. Rice or any other grains with salt. And then there's of course the fake meats, which a lot of vegans do eat. Don't expect any vegan to realize this, let alone admit it. This is for the enlightened ones, obviously.
What are your thoughts and takes on, I've heard, gosh, I can't remember the books offhand, but I remember reading books years ago. I did a sort of a raw vegan diet for 7 years. And I remember in that time you get really into these things and stuff. And I remember reading these books, and they're talking about how when people eat meat, it sort of putrefies and it does not digest in the body. But
yes, that's a vegan dogma, and that's a nonsense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem true.
Yeah. It's absolute nonsense. Meat is the easiest thing to digest for the human beings. I have patients in my clinic who live entirely on animal foods. They eat no plant matter at all. And these children and adults, they recover from all sorts of colitis and Crohn's disease, come off all medication, all steroids, their digestive system starts functioning, recover from schizophrenia, from obsessive compulsive disorders. But whenever they try to touch any amount of plant matter, a leaf of mint, a tiny bit of, lettuce or anything like that, their symptoms return. So this just demonstrates to me, my clinical practice and my patients, that human beings can live beautifully entirely on animal foods without any plant matter at all. But human beings cannot live entirely on plants.
In fact, if you restrict saturated fat and replace it with carbs, it not only do you not see a benefit, you actually increase your relative risk for heart disease. And this isn't some odd dietary switch here. This is exactly what the average American has done, right? Going back to that slide with the sharp increase in dietary carbs. So I don't know why that isn't enough evidence to change guidelines, but clearly we're not paying attention to all the evidence.
If you have cravings for salty foods, those are nutritional deficiencies and you should listen to them. When you eat these fake foods to satisfy them, your body gets sugar and hardly any micronutrients. That's not what it expected. What would you get in nature? Raw meat and blood. Why are so many vegan videos full of blood and torture? Let's find out. Why does YouTube allow them in the first place? You can find almost any animal being tortured on YouTube, except for the human animal, because it fits well with the vegan agenda. They promote it, just like all of mainstream media. If you would have any respect at all for these animals, you wouldn't show any of these clips to anybody. If you had a video of a human friend being tortured and blood everywhere, would you go and show that around? Would you go and show horror films or snuff films to humans of other humans being tortured? No, but you do that with animals. Why? Because as we established in my other video, you hate animals, so it all makes sense. You show this to children, that's child abuse. Of course you've got these pussies who grow up, they have no connection to nature, so of course they will be traumatized by it. You understand that. So this is brainwashing.
I can't wait to eat the brain.
Oh yeah, that's the best part?
Yes.
There's laughter, pride, excitement, like a Thanksgiving dinner.
Ah!
Frequent exclamations of yay and ooh. His dad zips open the belly and collects the blood. Junior grabs for a rib. Grandma cracks open a skull and digs out some brain. And suddenly the room is tearing that thing apart like a meat-filled piñata. Every part a treat.
We're keeping the blood for stews.
The Inuit waste nothing. They use every part of the animal. To make sure I get the full experience, I'm offered a piece of everything. The liver? A little liver, some kidney. Hey, how about some whisker treat? Not actually eaten per se, more sucked and chewed to extract a tiny nubbit of meat from within the blubber and cartilage. Oh, that is good. It's like, it tastes like sea urchin roe. And of course, and it was inevitable really, wasn't it? I'm offered the best part, the eyeball, to be slit and sucked out like a fat Concord grape. I'll split it with you. This is an act of pure generosity and kindness to an honored guest.
Break it like this.
Okay.
And suck it like a nipple.
Not bad. Has a blood-smeared face and gore-covered hands ever looked so benevolent, so kind of sweet? Is this any worse, really, than eating at the Colonel's or Applebee's, comfortably far removed from the actual business of the killing floor? Or is it, in fact, a more honest relationship with our dinner? Every bit of vitamin-rich flesh is consumed, the blubber boiled down and used for medicine. Despite the seemingly off-putting carnage, it's actually quite delicious. For dessert, blackberries rolled in blubber. You thought I was kidding about blubber treats? Nope.
Are you surprised from the group?
I'm surprised how good this is, yeah.
Yeah?
The meat's very tender.
Yeah.
Good stuff. The blood and the viscera are no longer off-putting. I do feel genuinely lucky and grateful to have seen this, that these people let me in their home and shared this with me.
If you only feed an apex predator plants, then what do you expect to happen? Of course they will go crazy. That's why all they can think about is killing. That's what we do in nature. It's way worse for them than anybody else who's removed from nature. The violence, the anger. None of them will admit this, don't even bother. This is again for the enlightened ones, but the reason they are so obsessed with blood is because they want to drink it. This is clear as day. They want to lick it off the floor, just like all humans in nature. Let me explain exactly how it works. Their body senses it, and it obsesses over it because it craves it. But because of the brainwash from the religion, they of course think that they are not supposed to do that. So they see the blood, but they let out their anger on other humans. Because the religion says, yes, you can hate other human animals, but not the rest. Go against your own species. God damn, you fucking idiots. You're that fucking stupid that you don't realize what's going on.
The example I love to give is the Plains Indians in America. And they borrowed the horses from the Spaniards and they became expert bison hunters. And as a consequence, they were amongst the tallest people in the world in the 1830s. And there are 4 so-called tribes. and they're taller even than the Australians. And you have to remember that the Australians were tall because they took the merino sheep from Cape Town with them, and that's what they lived on. So they scored also on height. But height is considered the key marker of health. The first man who went west of the Mississippi, George Catlin, met these two guys, 6'7" and 6'6". And he must have been a bit frightening. The point is, they were eating no grains, or very few grains, but predominantly animals. Buffalo was all they ate. And this is a book, again, which I've read, and this is described by one of the scouts in that group that was wiped out. He survived, Custer's last stand. And this is what he said about the people that wiped out Custer. They were all keen, athletic young men, tall and lean and brave, and I admired them as real specimens of manhood more than any body of men I'd ever seen before or since. They were perfectly adapted to their environment and knew just what to do in every emergency and when to do it without any confusion or lost motion. Their poise and dignity were superb. No royal person ever had more assured manners. I watched their every movement, etc., etc., etc. And so that's what these people looked like in those days. They were tall, powerful, strong, lean.
They will never tell you if they get ill. Why should they? Their agenda is something completely else. It may look like a diet on the surface if you're blind. A lot of them make money from this. So the last thing they care about is your health. If they would tell you to eat raw meat. Of course, none of them research nutrition, as we have learned. They will just put on another kilogram of makeup and continue with their misleading videos. It should be clearly understood that these are tools of the New World Order. And if they would ever succeed, then vegans would be one of the major reasons for it.
You